All right, everybody. Dan Fitzpatrick here, stockmarketmentor.com. And I want to look at oil and gas equipment and services today. Now, I just finished an hour-long training session for our members. If you're not one of them, I invite you to be one because I got a lot to show you and you got a lot to learn. And so why don't we just go make a bunch of money together? Okay. Um, anyway, but back on track here. So I was explaining to them how I get to, how I'll get to stocks that ultimately look good to me to be trading. And one of the things that I do is in the morning, I'll pull out, that's my active trade list. There's like 90, 91, I think. But I'll pull out my trusty list of major ETFs and I'll start just kind of banging through them. And so I saw kind of right off the bat the basic materials are working, like number one here, the equipment and services, but then also right below it is another ETF for energy, and then down here, same thing. And then another one here. So, frankly, in the top eight, there are like four of them that are directly related to oil. So, I went back here, looked at this, opened this up so I could see all the different stocks, and I just banged through them and flagged a bunch of them that were interesting to me. And I put several of them on our active trade list. And by the way, I actually even popped this thing on there as well too, just to kind of have a tracking ETF. So what I would do is, um, I'm we'll just pull this here. Okay, so these are our active trades that are going right now. So you can see I added a bunch of these here, and they're all in this same sector, oil and gas. And so I put on the XES. Yeah, I put on the XES, and this is kind of my benchmark. This is my bookmark, so to speak, where, okay, I want to see this doing well. I want to see the XES ETF doing well. But these are stocks within the XES. These are stocks that are these holdings. And so ideally, I mean, I want to see them green, but I want to see the individual stocks outperforming the XES. I mean, if I can't pick outperformers, then I should just say, let's everybody buy XES and be done with the damn thing. So far, this is working pretty well. I like seeing all these guys in the green. But again, I just thought I'd mention this to you. This is one way I kind of get a benchmark for my trades. So as I went through these, though, you could see so many of them are doing the same thing. I'm going to take this off. I added a lot of these on, but you can see these guys are all, I mean, this is a really, really similar situation as when we saw the quantum computing stocks back here. Pardon my cough. When we saw all of these things take off at the same time. So we get this situation where money is obviously flowing into a particular sector. And so you have like many different things to choose from, we'll put it that way. And so we've got the same thing here. It's like you can almost not go wrong. If you look here, every single holding in this ETF is up. Like the worst performers are up like 2%. Okay, so this is how you find them. Again, like this one, buy that thing, buy that thing, buy that thing. They're all doing, guys, they're just all doing so well. So some better than others. This is one that you may want to take a look at, but gosh, it's only up 5% today, so it's kind of lagging. Anyway, so I just thought I'd mention this to you guys. You don't have to be a member to take advantage of this kind of stuff. Just go like buy something, make sure you got your risk managed, and you go make a gang of money. All right. Okay, members. I was on for about an hour, so you can watch that in fast play. But also at the beginning, I went into some pretty good detail. I hope it was really clear in how you can come up with the implied move on American Eagle, how you could peg this 2420 as the absolute top in this move. So it's nice to kind of have that stuff in your pocket before the stock actually makes the move. So anyway, check that out, and I'll see you all next time. Okay. Hope everybody's doing well. You had a good Thanksgiving, and let's go get them.